Clara Whitmore had everything money could buy, until the day she walked into that basement office and uttered 7 words that would destroy her perfect life forever. "You promised I'd be your wife one day," she whispered to the man fixing pipes in the shadows, not knowing her mother had built their separation on a foundation of lies. What happened next would strip away her fortune, shatter her family's reputation, and force her to choose between a life of luxury and a love that could cost her everything. But when the cameras started flashing at that charity gala, and her ex-fiancé's true colors were finally exposed, Clara discovered that some promises are worth breaking your entire world to keep. The real question isn't whether love can conquer all. It's whether a spoiled heiress can survive long enough to find out. If you're watching this, hit that subscribe button and tell me where you're watching from, because this story of forbidden love and family betrayal is just getting started. The winter morning was bright and cold when Clara Whitmore stepped out of the black car. She pulled her coat tighter and stared at the tall glass building in front of her. This place used to feel like home. Now it felt like a test. Her left hand looked strange without the diamond ring. She'd worn it for 2 years. Now her finger felt naked and cold. Clara picked up her single suitcase and walked toward the lobby doors. The driver rolled down his window. "Miss Whitmore, will you need me to wait?" Clara shook her head. "No, thank you." She didn't know when she'd leave. She didn't even know if she should stay. All she knew was that she couldn't go back to Grant. Not after what he'd said. Not after how small he'd made her feel. The lobby was warm and smelled like coffee. Clara recognized the marble floors and soft music. Nothing had changed. But everything felt different now. "Clara!" Mrs. Henderson from the front desk smiled big. "We weren't expecting you." "Hi, Mrs. Henderson." Clara forced a smile. "I'm staying in 15B for a while." "Oh, how lovely. Your family keeps that unit so nice." Mrs. Henderson handed her the keys. "You know, we've been having some building troubles lately. Nothing major. But that young man Malik has been such a blessing. Fixed our heat last month when it went out. Saved us all from freezing." Clara's hands went still. The keys felt cold against her palm. "Malik?" she asked. Her voice sounded strange. "Malik Hayes. He's our maintenance supervisor now. Been here about 3 years. Such a good man. Always helps the older folks first when something breaks. Mrs. Donnelly says he's an angel." Clara's chest felt tight. She managed another smile and headed to the elevator. Her legs felt shaky. Malik Hayes. Here, in her building. The elevator ride to the 15th floor felt like forever. Clara stared at her reflection in the shiny doors. She looked expensive in her wool coat and leather boots. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup was perfect. But her eyes looked tired and scared. The apartment was exactly like she remembered. Clean lines, white walls, big windows that showed the whole city. It felt cold and empty. Clara set her suitcase down and pulled out her phone. 7 missed calls from Grant. She deleted them all without listening. Then a new voicemail came in. "Clara, sweetheart." Grant's voice was smooth and calm. "I know you're upset, but we can fix this. We just need to talk. Don't do anything crazy while you're emotional. Think about our families. Think about what people will say. Call me back." Clara's hands shook as she deleted it. The way he said emotional made her angry, like her feelings didn't matter, like she was just being silly. She walked to the big window and looked down at the street. People hurried by with coffee cups and briefcases. Normal people living normal lives. What would her life look like if she stopped trying to be perfect? Clara's phone rang again. This time it was her brother, Noah. "Hey," she answered. "Clara, Mom said you're in town. Everything okay?" She could hear the worry in his voice. Noah was only 4 years older, but he'd always tried to protect her. "I ended things with Grant," she said quietly. Silence. Then, "What happened?" He wanted me to sign papers, before the wedding. Papers that would give him control of my trust fund. When I said I wanted to read them first, he got angry. Really angry. He said I didn't trust him. But Noah. The way he looked at me. Oh, Clara. He called me stupid. Said I was lucky he even wanted to marry someone like me. Someone who'd never had a real job or real problems. Clara's voice broke a little. Maybe he's right. He's not right, Noah said firmly. And you know it. You're not stupid. You never were. Clara wiped her eyes. Mom's going to be so angry. Let me worry about Mom. Are you safe? Do you need anything? I'm fine. I'm at the family unit downtown. I just need some time to think. Okay, but Clara, there's something you should know. Mom's planning a big family event this weekend. Some charity thing. She's been planning it for months. She's going to expect you there. Clara's stomach dropped. A family event meant smiling and pretending everything was fine. It meant answering questions about the wedding. It meant seeing Grant's friends and family. I don't think I can do that right now. I know. But you know Mom. She'll make it about the family reputation if you don't show up. Just be ready for her to call. After they hung up, Clara felt more alone than before. She walked around the apartment, but it felt like a museum. Beautiful, but cold. A loud bang came from somewhere in the building, then another. Clara looked out her door. The hallway lights were flickering. Mrs. Donnelly from down the hall poked her head out. She was a small woman with white hair and kind eyes. "Oh dear," Mrs. Donnelly said. "The building's having troubles again. I hope the heat doesn't go out. Last time that happened, it was 3 days before they fixed it." 3 days? Clara asked. Well, until Malik came. He fixed it in 6 hours. Such a good boy. Works so hard. There was that name again. Clara's heart beat faster. Where would I find him? The maintenance supervisor? Oh, he has an office in the basement, near the mail room. He's probably there now. All these problems today. Mrs. Donnelly shook her head. I swear this building is falling apart. Clara watched Mrs. Donnelly go back inside. Then she stood in her doorway for a long moment. She could go back into her apartment. She could pretend none of this was happening. She could call Grant and apologize and go back to her old life. Or she could walk downstairs and face the past. The elevator ride down felt different this time. Clara caught her reflection again. She looked pale but determined. The basement hallway was narrow and bright. She could hear someone moving around behind a door marked maintenance. Her heart pounded so loud she was sure everyone in the building could hear it. Clara raised her hand to knock, then stopped, then raised it again. What was she going to say? Hi, remember me? I know I broke your heart 5 years ago, but I'm back and I'm confused. She took a deep breath and knocked before she could change her mind. Come in, a deep voice said from inside. Clara pushed the door open and stepped into a small, neat room. There was a desk with paperwork. Tool cabinets lined the walls. Everything was clean and organized. Malik Hayes looked up from a clipboard. His dark eyes met hers. 5 years had changed him. His shoulders were broader. His face was more serious. There were small lines around his eyes. But his smile was the same. Except he wasn't smiling now. Clara. He said her name like he was testing it. Like he wasn't sure it was real. She stood in the doorway, not knowing what to do with her hands. Hi, Malik. He set down his clipboard and leaned back in his chair. He wore a dark blue uniform shirt with his name stitched on it. His hands were clean, but showed the calluses of someone who worked hard. You look... He started, then stopped. Different. Older? She asked. Sadder. The word hit her like a slap. Not because it was mean, but because it was true. Clara stepped further into the room and closed the door behind her. She needed to say this fast, before she lost her courage. "You promised I'd be your wife one day," she said. The words came out rushed and desperate, not at all how she'd planned. Malik went very still. For a moment, the only sound was the hum of the building's heating system. Then he spoke. His voice was calm and careful. "Why does it matter now?" Clara felt like the air had been knocked out of her lungs. She'd expected anger. She'd expected him to yell or tell her to leave. She hadn't expected that quiet question that cut right to the heart of everything. "Because," she started, "because I never forgot. Because I made the wrong choice. Because I was young and scared and stupid. And now I'm older and scared and maybe still stupid. But I'm here." Malik picked up a pen and turned it over in his hands. "You're here because something went wrong with your perfect life, not because you wanted to be here." The truth of that stung. "That's not fair, isn't it?" He looked at her directly. 5 years ago, you got in your mother's car and drove away. You had my number. You knew where I lived. You could have called. You could have written. You could have come back any day. I was scared. I was scared too," he said quietly. "But I waited. For 6 months I waited for you to call, to text, to send a damn letter, anything." Clara felt tears starting. "I wanted to. I thought about it every day. But then time passed, and I thought you'd moved on. I thought you hated me." "I didn't hate you." Malik set down the pen. "I was disappointed and hurt, but I didn't hate you." "And now?" Before he could answer, there was a soft knock on the door. "Malik, dear?" Mrs. Donnelly's voice was muffled through the door. "I hate to bother you, but my kitchen sink is making that awful noise again." Malik stood up. "Just a minute, Mrs. Donnelly." He grabbed a small toolbox from the cabinet. When he looked at Clara again, his expression was professional. "I need to go take care of this. This is my job, Clara. These people depend on me." "I know. I understand." "Do you?" He paused at the door. "Because I won't do this at work. I won't have personal conversations in my office where everyone can hear. These people respect me. I won't give them reasons to gossip." Clara nodded, feeling ashamed. "I'm sorry. I should have thought. If you want to talk, we'll talk somewhere else, not here." He opened the door and stepped out. Clara heard him greet Mrs. Donnelly with warmth and kindness. "Don't you worry, Mrs. Donnelly. Let's go take a look at that sink." Clara stood in the empty office for a moment. She felt small and foolish. Malik was right. She hadn't thought about his job or his reputation. She'd just barged in like she owned the place. Because that's how she'd always lived, like she owned everything. She left the office and walked back to the elevator. In the hallway, she could hear Malik's voice coming from Mrs. Donnelly's apartment. He was explaining something about water pressure in a patient, gentle way. Back in her apartment, Clara sat on the white sofa and stared at the wall. She felt lost and empty. Her phone rang. She almost didn't answer, but it was Noah again. "Hey," she said. "You sound awful. What's wrong?" Clara told him about seeing Malik, about how it went wrong, about how she'd messed up already. "I'm not running this time," she said when she finished. "I can't. I won't." "Good," Noah said. "But Clara, if you're really going to do this, you need to think it through. Malik's not the same person he was 5 years ago. Neither are you. You can't just pick up where you left off." "I know that. Do you? Because it sounds like you walked into his job and made demands. That's not how relationships work." Clara felt heat rise in her cheeks. "I didn't make demands. You told him he promised to marry you. On his first day seeing you in 5 years, in his workplace. How is that not a demand?" Noah was right. Clara felt sick with embarrassment. "I messed up." "Yeah, you did. but you can fix it. You just have to be smarter about it. After they hung up, Clara went to her window again. The sun was setting, painting the sky pink and orange. The city looked beautiful and cold. She thought about Malik's hands, how they'd looked strong and capable, how gently he'd spoken to Mrs. Donnelly, how his eyes had changed when he looked at Clara. Not angry, just careful, like he was protecting himself. Clara pulled out her phone and scrolled to his contact. She'd never deleted it. For 5 years, she'd kept his number like a talisman, a reminder of the life she'd given up. She typed a message. "I'm sorry. You're right. I wasn't thinking about your job or your life. I was only thinking about myself. Thank you for being kind anyway." She hit send before she could change her mind. Then she added, "I'm ready to be honest whenever you are, but on your terms, not mine." She waited for a response, but none came. Outside her window, the city lights were starting to twinkle. Clara made herself a cup of tea and sat by the window to watch. For the first time in years, she didn't have anywhere else to be. No dinner plans or charity events or dress fittings. Just her and her choices and the possibility that it was too late for some things. But not too late for everything. The building made settling noises around her, pipes creaking, heat coming on. Normal sounds of people living their lives. Clara closed her eyes and tried to imagine what Malik's life looked like now. Did he live alone? Was he happy? Did he ever think about her? Or had he moved on completely? She thought about the way he'd said her name, like he was surprised to see her. Like he wasn't sure she was real. Maybe that's all she was to him now. A memory that showed up at the wrong time. But she was here now. That had to count for something. Rain started patting against the windows. Clara pulled a blanket around her shoulders and settled in to wait. She didn't know what she was waiting for. But for the first time in years, she wasn't running away. That felt like a start. Around midnight, the building's fire alarm went off. Not the full evacuation sound, just a few sharp beeps. Clara heard doors opening in the hallway. Voices. She put on her shoes and opened her door. Other residents were standing in the hallway in robes and slippers. They looked confused and worried. Mrs. Donnelly was there in a pink bathrobe, an older man from the end of the hall. A young couple with a baby. "What's happening?" the young mother asked. "I don't know," Mrs. Donnelly said, "but I'm sure Malik will figure it out." As if her words had summoned him, the elevator opened and Malik stepped out. He wore jeans and a sweatshirt. His hair was messy like he'd been asleep. "Sorry, everyone," he said, his voice calm and reassuring. "Just a sensor malfunction from all the moisture in the basement. Everything's fine. You can go back to your apartments." "Are you sure?" the young father asked. "Positive. I just checked the whole system. It's an easy fix. I'll have it sorted by morning." People started going back to their rooms, talking quietly. Clara stayed in her doorway, watching Malik reassure everyone. He was patient with each person. He made them feel safe. When the hallway was mostly empty, Malik glanced toward Clara's door. Their eyes met for just a second. Then he looked away and headed back to the elevator. Clara stepped out of her doorway. "Malik." He stopped, but didn't turn around. "Is there anything I can do to help?" He turned then, studying her face. "It's handled." "I know. I just meant if you needed an extra pair of hands." "I've got it, Clara. Go back inside." But his voice was softer than before. Not angry, just tired. Clara nodded and watched him disappear into the elevator. Then she went back to her apartment and sat by the window again. Outside, the rain was coming down harder. The city looked blurry through the water on the glass. Clara thought about Malik downstairs, fixing things in the middle of the night, taking care of people, being someone they could count on. She thought about Grant, Who would have called the building manager and demanded someone else handle it? Who would have complained about being woken up? The difference was clear, and it made Clara's chest ache with something that felt like regret and hope mixed together. She fell asleep in the chair by the window, wrapped in the blanket. She dreamed about being young again, about promises made under summer stars, about the boy who'd looked at her like she was the whole world. When she woke up, the sun was shining and her phone was buzzing. It was a text from a number she didn't recognize. "If you want to talk, meet me at Riverside Park tomorrow at 3. By the bench near the playground. Come alone." Clara stared at the message. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Malik had finally answered. Clara arrived at Riverside Park 15 minutes early. The bench near the playground was empty. Kids ran around on the swings and slides, their laughter mixing with the sound of traffic from the busy street. She'd changed clothes 3 times that morning. Finally, she picked jeans and a simple sweater. Nothing too fancy. Nothing that screamed money. Her hands shook as she sat down to wait. What if Malik didn't come? What if this was his way of telling her to leave him alone? At exactly 3 o'clock, she saw him walking across the grass. He wore dark jeans and a black jacket. His hands were in his pockets. He moved like someone who was thinking hard about every step. Clara stood up when he got close, then sat back down. She didn't know what was appropriate anymore. "Hi," she said. "Hi." Malik sat down on the other end of the bench. Not close enough to touch. Not far enough to seem rude. They watched the kids play for a moment. A little girl with pigtails pumped her legs on a swing, trying to go higher. "Thank you for coming," Clara said finally. "I wasn't sure I would." "What changed your mind?" Malik was quiet for a long time. "Mrs. Donnelly. She told me you helped during the water leak yesterday. She said you didn't act like you were too good to get your hands dirty." Clara remembered kneeling on the wet basement floor, holding a flashlight while Malik worked on the pipes. Her expensive boots had gotten soaked. Her sweater had gotten dirty. She hadn't cared. "I wanted to help." Why? It was a simple question with a complicated answer. Because those people mattered to you. Because you were working hard to take care of them. Because... Clara stopped and took a breath. Because I wanted to be useful instead of just decorative. Malik looked at her then. Really looked. "Is that how you felt? Decorative? For the last 5 years?" "Yes." The words came out bitter. Grant wanted a wife who looked good at parties, who smiled at the right times, who never argued or asked questions. "I was like a pretty lamp he could turn on when he needed light. And you let him treat you that way." It wasn't a question. It was a fact. And it hurt, because it was true. "I thought that's what love looked like," Clara said quietly. "I thought if I was perfect enough, good enough, quiet enough, he'd really love me, not just the idea of me. And now? Now I know the difference." A cold wind blew through the park. Clara pulled her sweater tighter. "Tell me about the promise," Malik said. "What do you remember about that night?" Clara closed her eyes. She could see it so clearly. The summer evening 5 years ago. They'd been walking by the lake downtown. The air had smelled like barbecue and cut grass. Malik had just graduated from trade school. Clara was about to start her senior year of college. "You said you were going to work hard and save money. You said someday you'd have enough to give me everything I deserved. And I said I didn't need everything. I just needed you. And you said..." Clara's voice got softer. "You said, 'I promise you'll be my wife one day, when I'm ready to be the man you need.'" Malik nodded slowly. "I remember. And then 2 weeks later, my mother showed me pictures. Pictures." Clara's stomach twisted. This was the part she'd never told anyone, not even Noah. "Pictures of you with another girl. At some party. You were laughing." She was. She was beautiful. And young. And she was touching your arm and looking at you like... Like what? Like I used to look at you. Malik turned his whole body toward her. Clara, what pictures? I never... My mother got them from a friend. Someone who knew someone at your school. She said you were seeing this girl. That you'd been seeing her for months. That I was just a rich girl you were playing around with until something better came along. Malik's face went dark with anger. And you believed her. I was 21. I was scared and insecure, and I didn't know how to fight for anything. When the driver came to pick me up that night, I got in the car. I chose to believe the worst instead of asking you about it. You could have asked me. I know. Clara's eyes filled with tears. I know I should have asked. But I was so afraid you'd confirm it was true. So afraid you'd tell me I was just some silly rich girl who meant nothing. They sat in silence for a while. The little girl on the swings had moved to the slide. Her mother pushed a stroller nearby, talking on her phone. The pictures, Malik said finally. Do you still have them? No. I threw them away the day I got engaged to Grant. I was trying to forget everything about that time. What did she look like? The girl in the pictures. Clara tried to remember. Blonde hair, really pretty. She wore a red dress. You were at some kind of party or event. Malik made a sound that might have been a laugh, but it wasn't happy. Jasmine Brooks, my study partner from electrical engineering class. The pictures were from graduation night. She was drunk and hanging all over everyone. I spent most of that party helping her roommate get her home safely. Clara felt like the ground was shifting under her feet. What? She was like a sister to me, Clara. I was dating you. I was in love with you. I wasn't looking at anyone else. The words hit Clara like a physical blow. Oh God. Your mother showed you pictures from graduation night and told you I was cheating? Clara couldn't speak. She could only nod. Malik stood up from the bench and walked a few steps away. He ran his hands through his hair. When he turned back, his eyes were hard. So you threw away what we had because your mother lied to you. She didn't lie exactly. She let me think. She lied, Clara, and you let her. Clara started crying then. Not pretty, quiet tears. Ugly, gut-wrenching sobs that made her shoulders shake. I'm sorry, she choked out. I'm so sorry. I was young and stupid and scared, and I made the worst mistake of my life. Malik came back to the bench but didn't sit down. Why are you telling me this now? Why does any of this matter? Clara wiped her face with her sleeve. Because I can't live with it anymore. Because I've spent 5 years trying to be the person my mother wanted me to be, and I'm miserable. Because I ended my engagement 2 days ago, and the first place I wanted to go was to find you. What do you want from me, Clara? She looked up at him. His face was guarded but not cold, like he was trying to protect himself but still willing to listen. I want a chance to prove I'm not that scared girl anymore. I want to show you that I've learned the difference between what other people want for me and what I want for myself. And what do you want for yourself? You, she said simply. I want you. I want to build something real with you. I want to be someone you can trust. Malik sat back down, but closer this time. Close enough that Clara could smell his cologne. Close enough to see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. Trust isn't something you can just decide to have, he said. It's something you earn, day by day, choice by choice. I know. Do you? Because earning trust means being uncomfortable sometimes. It means having fights and working through them instead of running away. It means standing up to your family when they don't approve. Clara's phone buzzed in her pocket. She ignored it. It also means dating a man who fixes toilets for a living, who drives a 10-year-old truck, who shops at discount stores and clips coupons. I don't care about any of that. You say that now, But what happens when your mother starts talking about how I'm not good enough for you? What happens when your friends ask what I do for work? Clara's phone buzzed again. This time she pulled it out and turned it off completely. Then I'll tell them you're the best man I know. And if they don't like it, that says something about them, not about you. Malik studied her face like he was trying to read something written there. I need time to think, he said finally. This is a lot, Clara. You can't just show up after 5 years and expect everything to go back to how it was. I don't expect that. I know we're different people now. I know I have to earn your trust back. I'm just asking for a chance. Malik stood up again. I'll think about it. How long? As long as I need. Clara nodded, even though her heart was breaking a little. Okay. Malik started to walk away, then stopped. Clara. Yeah? If we do this, if we try again, it won't be like before. I'm not 25 anymore. I don't have time for games or drama. I won't be anyone's secret or their backup plan. I understand. Do you? Because I mean it. If you choose me, you choose all of me. My job, my family, my life. You don't get to pick and choose the parts that fit with your old world. Clara stood up too. I don't want my old world. That's the whole point. Malik looked at her for a long moment. Then he walked away without saying goodbye. Clara sat back down on the bench and watched him until he disappeared behind the trees. Her phone was buzzing in her pocket again, but she ignored it. She felt empty and hopeful at the same time. Like something had ended, and something else might be beginning. The little girl with pigtails ran past, chasing a butterfly. Her mother called after her to be careful. Clara thought about being careful. She'd been careful her whole life. Careful to say the right things. Careful to date the right people. Careful to never rock the boat. Where had being careful gotten her? Engaged to a man who saw her as a possession. Living a life that felt like a beautiful prison. Maybe it was time to stop being careful. Clara turned her phone back on. 7 missed calls from her mother. 3 from Grant. 2 from Noah. She called Noah first. Where have you been? He answered. Mom's been calling everyone looking for you. I was talking to Malik. How did that go? Clara told him everything. About the pictures. About what really happened 5 years ago. About what Malik had said. Jesus, Clara. Mom really did that? She thought she was protecting me. She lied to you. She broke up your relationship with lies. Clara had never heard Noah sound so angry. What are you going to do? He asked. I don't know. He needs time to think. And honestly, I don't blame him. But you're not giving up. No, I'm not giving up. Noah was quiet for a moment. Good. You deserve better than Grant. You always did. Thanks, Noah. But Clara, be ready for Mom to fight this. When she finds out what's happening, she's going to pull out every weapon she has. I know. And be ready for it to get ugly. She'll try to make you feel guilty. She'll threaten to cut you off. She'll say terrible things about Malik. Clara felt a chill that had nothing to do with the wind. I know. Are you strong enough for that fight? Clara thought about Malik's hands fixing Mrs. Donnelly's sink. About the way he'd talked to scared residents during the fire alarm. About the promise he'd made under the summer stars 5 years ago. I have to be. That night, Clara's mother called. Clara, darling, I've been trying to reach you all day. Evelyn Whitmore's voice was smooth and controlled. She never yelled. She never had to. Her disapproval was a cold, sharp thing that could cut you down without raising her voice. Hi, Mom. Noah told me about your situation with Grant. I think we need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. It's over. Don't be silly. Every couple has fights. Grant called me this afternoon. He's willing to overlook your little tantrum if you apologize properly. Clara felt anger rising in her chest. My little tantrum? Darling, You broke up with your fiancé over some business paperwork. That's not rational behavior. He wanted control of my money, Mom. And when I questioned it, he called me stupid. I'm sure he didn't mean... He meant it. Clara's voice was sharper now. And I'm not apologizing. It's over. Evelyn was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her tone was different, colder. I see. And what exactly do you plan to do with yourself now? You've never had a job. You've never lived on your own. You have no skills except looking pretty and making small talk. Each word was designed to hurt, and they did. I'll figure it out. Will you? Or will you run back to that boy from before? What was his name? Marcus. Mitchell. Clara's blood went cold. Malik. Ah, yes, Malik, the maintenance worker. The way she said it made it sound dirty, like something shameful. Don't talk about him like that. Like what? Like what he is? Clara, darling, be realistic. What could you possibly have in common with someone like that? More than I had with Grant. Grant is from a good family. He's educated. He's successful. He could have given you a life worthy of your upbringing. I don't want that life. You don't know what you want. You're confused and emotional. This will pass. Clara was shaking now, with anger and hurt and something else. Something that felt like courage. No, Mom, this won't pass. I'm not confused. I'm finally thinking clearly for the first time in years. Clara, I have to go. Clara hung up before her mother could say anything else. Then she turned off her phone again. She made herself dinner and sat by the window to eat it. The city looked different at night, warmer somehow, like it was full of possibilities instead of just buildings. The next morning, Clara woke up early. She made coffee and stood by her window, watching the sun come up over the buildings. She had a decision to make. She could wait for Malik to call. She could sit in her apartment and hope he decided to give her another chance. Or she could do something to prove she meant what she said. Clara got dressed and went downstairs. The building felt different in the morning. Busier. People heading to work. Kids going to school. She found Mrs. Donnelly in the lobby, checking her mailbox. Oh, hello, dear, Mrs. Donnelly said. You're up early. Mrs. Donnelly, can I ask you something? Of course. Yesterday, when the pipe leaked, you said Malik saved everyone from freezing when the heat went out. What happened? Mrs. Donnelly's face lit up. Oh, it was terrible. The heating system broke on the coldest day of the year. The repair company said they couldn't come for 3 days. Can you imagine? All of us old folks, freezing in our apartments. What did Malik do? He worked all night. All night, dear. He took apart that old boiler and fixed it with spare parts from somewhere. When I got up the next morning, my apartment was warm as toast. Clara felt something squeeze in her chest. He worked all night. Didn't sleep a wink. And when I tried to give him money for coffee, he wouldn't take it. Said it was just his job. Mrs. Donnelly shook her head. That boy has a good heart. Yes, Clara said softly. He does. Are you a friend of his, dear? Clara hesitated. I hope to be. Mrs. Donnelly patted Clara's arm. He deserves a nice friend. He works so hard, never complains, always has time to help. Clara spent the rest of the morning walking around the neighborhood. She'd lived in this city her whole life, but she'd never really seen it. She'd always traveled in cars and elevators, moving from one safe, expensive place to another. Now she walked the streets. She saw the coffee shop where construction workers grabbed breakfast before their shifts. The small grocery store with handwritten sale signs in the window. The bus stop where people waited with tired faces and patient expressions. This was Malik's world. The real world. The one she'd been protected from her whole life. At lunchtime, Clara went back to the building. She could hear hammering coming from the basement. Malik was working on something. Clara went to the small grocery store she'd seen and bought sandwiches, chips, and drinks, Enough for Malik and whoever was helping him. She left the food by the basement door with a note. Thank you for taking care of everyone. C. Then she went back upstairs before he could see her. That evening, Clara got a text. Thank you for lunch. Her heart jumped. She typed back, You're welcome. A minute later, Mrs. Donnelly told me you asked about the heating repair. I wanted to understand who you are now. And? Clara thought for a long time before answering. I think you became the man you promised you'd be. He didn't respond right away. Clara stared at her phone, waiting. Finally. Meet me tomorrow, 7 p.m. Giovanni's Deli on 5th Street. It's not fancy. Clara smiled at her phone. Perfect. The next evening, Clara stood outside Giovanni's Deli feeling nervous. It was a small place with red checkered tablecloths and the smell of garlic bread drifting from the kitchen. Through the window, she could see Malik sitting at a corner table. He wore a button-down shirt and dark jeans. He looked up when she walked in and stood to pull out her chair. Thank you, Clara said, sitting down. The menu was simple: pizza, pasta, sandwiches. Prices that made Clara realize how much money she'd been spending on meals without thinking about it. What's good here? She asked. Everything. Giuseppe's been making the same recipes for 30 years. They ordered pasta and shared a basket of bread. The food was simple and delicious. Better than anything Clara had eaten at the fancy restaurants Grant preferred. This is nice, she said. You sound surprised. I guess I am. I've been eating at places where they bring you 7 tiny courses and you're still hungry afterward. Malik smiled a little. Different worlds. Yeah, I'm starting to think I prefer your world. It's not just my world, Clara. It could be yours too. But you'd have to really want it. Not just say you want it. Clara set down her fork. What would that look like? Really wanting it? It means shopping at regular stores instead of boutiques. It means driving your own car instead of calling car services. It means having a job, even if it's not glamorous. I could get a job. Doing what? It was a simple question that Clara couldn't answer. She'd never worked a day in her life. Her college degree was in art history. She had no real skills except looking pretty and making conversation at parties. I don't know, she admitted, but I could learn. Malik studied her face. Why? Because I want to be someone who contributes something. I want to matter in a real way. You matter now. Do I? I spend my days shopping and planning parties and sitting on charity boards where I write checks but don't actually help anyone. That's not mattering. That's just existing. They ate in comfortable silence for a while. Around them, families shared dinner, and couples held hands over small tables. It felt warm and real, in a way Clara's life had never been. Tell me about your family, Clara said. Your sister. I remember you talking about her. Malik's face softened. Jada, she's incredible. She's a nurse at Children's Hospital, works with kids who have cancer. That must be hard. It is, but she says seeing them fight makes her want to fight too. For everything. For her patients. For her family. For what's right. Clara felt a pang of something that might have been envy. She sounds amazing. She is, and she's very protective of me. Meaning? Meaning she knows about you. About what happened before. She's not your biggest fan. Clara's stomach dropped. Oh. She thinks you're going to hurt me again. And you? What do you think? Malik was quiet for a long moment. I think you're trying to change. I think you mean what you say right now, but I don't know if you're strong enough to handle what comes next. What comes next? Your family finding out about us, your friends talking, people making assumptions about why you're with me. Clara thought about her mother's cold voice on the phone, about Grant's threats, about the life she'd have to give up. I won't lie, she said. It scares me. but not as much as the thought of living without you again. Malik reached across the table and took her hand. His fingers were warm and calloused. Real. I'm not asking you to choose right now, but I need you to understand what you'd be choosing. It's not just me, Clara. It's my life, my world, my responsibilities. What responsibilities? I help take care of Jada's son, Trey, my nephew. He's 8. His father's not in the picture. Clara felt something shift inside her chest. You have a nephew? He spends weekends with me sometimes. He's a good kid, but he asks a lot of questions. He'd want to know who you are and why you're in my life. The weight of it hit Clara then. This wasn't just about her and Malik. There were other people involved. A little boy who needed stability. A sister who was probably already suspicious of Clara's motives. I'd like to meet him, Clara said. Someday. If you think it's appropriate. Malik squeezed her hand. Maybe. But not yet. Not until I know this is real. How will you know? Time, he said simply. And choices. Big ones and small ones. The choice to stay when things get hard instead of running away. After dinner, Malik walked Clara back to her building. They didn't hold hands, but they walked close enough that their arms brushed occasionally. Thank you for dinner, Clara said when they reached the lobby. Thank you for coming. They stood facing each other in the soft light from the chandelier. Clara wanted to kiss him, wanted to touch his face and tell him she loved him and promise him everything would be okay. Instead, she stepped back. Good night, Malik. Good night, Clara. She watched him walk away, then went upstairs to her empty apartment. But for the first time since she'd arrived, it didn't feel quite so empty. Her phone was buzzing when she got inside. 3 missed calls from Grant. Clara stared at the phone for a moment, then turned it off without listening to the voicemails. Whatever Grant wanted, it could wait. Tonight belonged to the possibility of something real, something worth fighting for, something worth changing her whole life for. Clara made herself tea and sat by the window. Below, the city hummed with the quiet energy of evening. People going home to the people they loved. People starting their real lives after the workday ended. For the first time in years, Clara felt like she might belong to that world. The real world. The one where love mattered more than appearances and promises meant something. She just had to prove she was brave enough to choose it. Clara woke up Friday morning to pounding on her door. She looked at the clock. 7:30 a.m. Who would be here this early? She pulled on a robe and opened the door. Grant stood in the hallway, holding a coffee cup and wearing his charming smile. The one that used to make her feel special. Now it just made her feel tired. Good morning, beautiful, he said, pushing past her into the apartment. Grant, what are you doing here? How did you even get up here? I told the desk clerk I was your fiancé. Funny how people still think of us that way. He set down his coffee and looked around the apartment. This place is nice. Very minimalist. We're not engaged anymore. You need to leave. Clara, sweetheart, I know you're upset, but running away to this little hideout isn't going to solve anything. Grant moved to the window and looked out at the city. He was dressed perfectly, as always. Expensive suit. Perfect hair. He looked like he belonged in a magazine. I'm not running away. I'm thinking clearly for the first time in years. Are you? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're having some kind of breakdown. Clara felt anger flare in her chest. Don't do that. Don't make this about me being unstable. I'm not. I'm trying to understand why you threw away our entire future over a simple prenup. Every couple signs one, Clara. It's just business. It wasn't just business to me. Grant turned from the window and walked over to her. He was using his gentle voice now, the one he used when he wanted something. Clara, I love you. I want to marry you. I want us to have a family together, but I also have to protect what my family has built. Surely you understand that. What I understand is that you don't trust me. It's not about trust. It's about being smart. Clara pulled her robe tighter. Please leave. Not until we talk about this properly. Grant sat down on the couch like he owned the place. Your mother is worried sick. She thinks you're having some kind of crisis. My mother needs to mind her own business. She cares about you. We both do. If you cared about me, you wouldn't have called me stupid. Grant's mask slipped for just a second. Clara saw something cold flicker in his eyes. I was frustrated, he said carefully. I said something I didn't mean. I'm sorry. It was the first time he'd apologized, but it didn't feel real. It felt practiced. It's too late, Grant. No, it's not. We can fix this. We can go away for a weekend. Talk things through. Remember why we fell in love. Clara stared at him. When did we fall in love, Grant? Because I can't remember a moment when you looked at me like I was the most important thing in your world. I remember you looking at me like I was a prize you'd won, but not like you loved me. Grant's jaw tightened. That's not fair, isn't it? Tell me one thing about me that has nothing to do with how I look or who my family is. Grant opened his mouth, then closed it. He couldn't do it. That's what I thought. Clara, you're being ridiculous. Love isn't just about feelings. It's about partnership, compatibility, building a life together. You mean building your life, with me as a pretty accessory? I never said that. You didn't have to. They stared at each other for a moment. Clara could see Grant calculating, trying to figure out what approach would work. Is there someone else? He asked finally. Clara's heart jumped, but she kept her voice steady. This isn't about someone else. This is about me finally figuring out what I want. And what's that? To matter. To be chosen for who I am, not what I represent. Grant stood up and moved closer to her. Too close. You matter to me. No, Grant, I don't. Your idea of me matters to you. The version of me that smiles and nods and never asks hard questions. But you don't actually know me at all. Grant's mask slipped again. This time the coldness stayed. Fine, he said. If that's how you want to play this, fine. But don't come crying to me when you realize what you've given up. I won't. And don't expect me to wait around while you have your little adventure. Clara felt relief wash over her. Good. Don't wait. Find someone who wants what you're offering. Grant grabbed his coffee cup and headed for the door. He paused with his hand on the handle. You know, your mother was right about you. You're selfish and immature. You always have been. The words were meant to hurt, and they did. But they also made Clara angry. Get out. After Grant left, Clara sat on her couch and shook. Not from fear, but from adrenaline. She'd stood up to him. Really stood up to him. For the first time in 2 years, she'd told him exactly what she thought. It felt terrifying and wonderful at the same time. Her phone rang. It was Noah. Hey, she answered. Mom called me. She said Grant went to see you this morning. He did. It didn't go well. For him. Are you okay? I'm better than okay. I'm proud of myself. Noah was quiet for a moment. Clara, there's something you need to know. Mom's planning something for this weekend. The charity event I mentioned. She's invited Grant's family, and she's telling everyone you two just had a little fight. Clara's stomach dropped. What? She's not accepting that this is over. She thinks if she gets you in the right setting, around the right people, you'll change your mind. I'm not going. She'll make a scene if you don't show up. She'll blame it on you being unstable. She'll say you're having a breakdown. Clara felt trapped. If she went, her mother would try to push her back to Grant. If she didn't go, Evelyn would use her absence as proof that Clara was falling apart. "What should I do?" "Go," Noah said, "but not alone." "What do you mean?" "Bring a date, someone who matters to you. Show everyone that you've moved on." Clara's heart pounded. "I can't ask Malik to do that. It's too much too soon." "Is it? Clara, if you're serious about him, if you really want to build something real, he needs to see that you'll choose him publicly, not just in private." After they hung up, Clara sat staring at her phone. Noah was right. She'd told Malik she was ready to choose his world. But she hadn't proven it yet. She'd only proven she could have dinner at a deli and bring sandwiches to his work crew. Going to her mother's event with Malik would be declaring war on her old life. It would be choosing him in front of everyone who mattered to her family. It would also be asking him to step into her world in a way that could be uncomfortable or embarrassing for him. Clara spent the morning pacing her apartment, trying to decide what to do. Around noon, she heard familiar voices in the hallway. Mrs. Donnelly was talking to someone. Clara opened her door and saw Mrs. Donnelly with a young boy. He was maybe 8 years old, with Malik's eyes and a bright smile. "Oh, hello, dear," Mrs. Donnelly said. "This is Trey. He's visiting his uncle Malik today." Clara's heart jumped. This was Malik's nephew, the boy he helped raise. "Hi, Trey," Clara said, kneeling down to his level. "I'm Clara." "Hi. Are you the lady who brought Uncle Malik lunch yesterday?" Clara glanced at Mrs. Donnelly, who was smiling knowingly. "Maybe. Did he tell you about that?" "Yeah. He said someone was being thoughtful. He likes thoughtful people." Out of the mouths of babes. Clara felt her chest tighten with emotion. "Your uncle is a good man," she told Trey. "The best," Trey agreed. "He's teaching me how to fix things. Want to see?" Before Clara could answer, Trey was pulling a small screwdriver out of his pocket and showing her how to tighten a loose screw on Mrs. Donnelly's apartment door. "Uncle Malik says if you can fix things, you can help people. And helping people is the most important job in the world." Clara watched this serious little boy work with his tiny tools, and something broke open in her chest. This was what mattered. This little boy who thought his uncle hung the moon. This sweet old woman who trusted Malik to keep her safe. This building full of people who depended on him. This was the life she wanted to be part of. "Trey," she said, "would you like to help me with something?" "What kind of something?" "I need to make a decision about something important, and I think you might be smart enough to help me figure it out." Trey puffed up with pride. "I'm very smart. Ask Mrs. Donnelly." "He is, indeed," Mrs. Donnelly confirmed. "Smart as a whip." Clara invited them both into her apartment for hot chocolate. She told Trey about the party this weekend, about how her family expected her to go, about how she could go alone or bring someone special with her. She didn't mention Grant or her mother's manipulation. She just focused on the basic choice: face something scary alone or ask for support. "Well," Trey said seriously, stirring his hot chocolate, "if it was me, I'd want Uncle Malik there. He makes everything less scary. But what if bringing him made things harder for him? What if people weren't very nice to him?" Trey considered this. "Uncle Malik's not scared of people being mean. He says mean people are usually just sad people who don't know how to be better." Clara looked at Mrs. Donnelly, who was watching this conversation with twinkling eyes. "What do you think, Mrs. Donnelly?" "I think that young man of yours is strong enough to handle whatever your family throws at him. The question is whether you're strong enough to let him." When Malik came to collect Trey that afternoon, Clara was waiting in the lobby. She'd changed into jeans and a simple sweater. Her hair was in a ponytail. She looked like herself instead of like a magazine picture. "Uncle Malik." Trey ran over to hug him. "Clara made us hot chocolate, and she asked me for advice about something really important." Malik looked at Clara with raised eyebrows. "Did she?" "She did. And I told her if she needs someone to make things less scary, she should ask you, because you're the best at that. Clara felt heat rise in her cheeks. Trey's very wise. Yes, he is. Malik ruffled his nephew's hair. What did you need advice about? Clara took a deep breath. There's a family event this weekend. Kind of formal. My mother expects me to be there. And I was wondering, would you consider going with me? Malik went very still. What kind of event? A charity thing, dinner and dancing. My family will be there. And probably Grant and his family too. Ah, Malik's voice was carefully neutral. And you want me there because I want to choose you publicly. Because I want everyone to know that I'm serious about this. About us. Trey looked back and forth between them like he was watching a tennis match. It won't be easy, Clara continued. My family won't be welcoming. People will stare. They'll whisper. Some of them will be rude. And you want to subject me to that? Clara's heart sank. I want to stand beside you and not care what they think. But if you don't want to do it, I understand. Malik looked down at Trey, who was listening with intense concentration. What do you think, buddy? Should I go to Clara's fancy party? Will there be dancing? Trey asked. Probably. Can you dance? A little. Then you should go. Everyone should know how awesome you are. Malik smiled at that. Then he looked at Clara. This isn't just about proving something to your family, is it? This is about proving something to yourself. Yes, Clara admitted. I need to know I'm brave enough to choose love over convenience. I need to know I won't fold under pressure. And what if you do fold? What if we get there and you realize it's too hard? Clara thought about Grant's cold eyes that morning, about her mother's manipulative phone calls, about all the years she'd spent being who other people wanted her to be. Then I'll have to live with disappointing myself and disappointing you. But I don't think I will. Malik was quiet for a long moment. Trey tugged on his shirt. Uncle Malik. Clara's nice. And she brought you sandwiches. And Mrs. Donnelly likes her. That's a lot of good signs. Malik laughed. You're right. Those are good signs. He looked at Clara again. What should I wear to this fancy party? Clara's heart leaped. You'll do it? I'll do it. But Clara, if we do this, we do it right. No hiding in corners. No pretending I'm just a friend. If I'm your date, I'm your date. Yes, Clara said quickly. That's what I want. And if your family gives me grief, you stand with me. Not between us. With me. I will. And afterward, when people talk and gossip and make assumptions, you don't get to have regrets. You don't get to say it was too much or too hard. Clara nodded. I understand. Malik held out his hand. Then shake on it. Clara took his hand. His fingers were warm and strong. Real. It's a deal, she said. That night, Clara called Noah to tell him she was bringing a date to the charity event. Thank God, Noah said. Who is it? Malik. Silence. Noah? The maintenance guy? The one from before? He's not just a maintenance guy. He's the man I love. More silence. Okay, Noah said finally. This is going to be interesting. Are you going to be weird about it? Me? No. I just want you to be happy. But Clara, Mom's going to lose her mind. I know. And Grant's going to be there with his family. It could get ugly. I know that too. Are you sure you're ready for this? Clara thought about Trey's serious little face, about Mrs. Donnelly's approving smile, about the way Malik had looked at her when she asked him to the party. Not like she was crazy or dramatic. Like she was brave. I'm ready. The next day was Saturday. The party was that evening. Clara spent the morning shopping for a dress. Not at the boutiques she usually frequented, but at regular stores where normal people shopped. She found a simple black dress that was elegant, but not flashy. It cost 1/10 of what she usually spent on formal wear, and it looked better on her than anything in her closet. She was having her hair done when her phone rang. It was her mother. "Clara, darling, I just wanted to confirm you'll be there tonight." "I'll be there." "Wonderful, and Grant will be so pleased. He's been miserable since your little spat." "Mom, I'm bringing a date." The silence stretched so long that Clara wondered if the call had dropped. "I'm sorry, I must have heard you wrong. I'm bringing someone. His name is Malik Hayes." "Clara, that's not appropriate. You can't bring a stranger to a family event." "He's not a stranger to me." "Who is he? Where did you meet him?" Clara took a deep breath. "He's someone I care about very much. Someone who sees me for who I really am." "Clara, whatever game you're playing, this isn't the time or place." "It's not a game, Mom. I'm serious about him." "Well, you'll have to uninvite him. We don't have room for extra guests." "Then I won't come either." Another long silence. "Clara Elizabeth Whitmore, you will not embarrass this family by bringing some random man to my charity event. His name is Malik, and he's not random. And I'm bringing him whether you like it or not. We'll discuss this when you arrive." "No, we won't. We'll smile and be polite, and get through the evening like civilized people." Clara hung up before her mother could respond. At 6 o'clock, Malik knocked on Clara's apartment door. When she opened it, her breath caught in her throat. He wore a simple black suit with a white shirt and thin black tie. His hair was cut fresh, and he smelled like cologne and soap. He looked handsome and confident and completely himself. "Wow," Clara said. "You look beautiful," he said, taking in her simple black dress and understated jewelry. "Perfect. Are you ready for this?" Malik straightened his tie. "Are you?" Clara picked up her purse and took his offered arm. "Let's find out." The charity event was being held at the Meridian Hotel downtown. Clara had been to 100 parties in this ballroom. She knew every chandelier, every marble column, every inch of imported carpet, but walking in with Malik felt like entering a foreign country. The room was full of people Clara had known her whole life. Business associates of her father's, friends of her mother's, society families who had been coming to these events for generations. Conversation slowed as Clara and Malik walked in. Eyes followed them across the room. Clara heard her name whispered behind fans and champagne glasses. "Second thoughts?" Malik murmured in her ear. "Not even a little bit." They made their way to the bar. Clara ordered wine. Malik ordered a beer. "Clara," a bright voice called out. "How lovely to see you." It was Patricia Kelman, one of her mother's oldest friends, a woman who knew everyone's business and loved to share it. "Hello, Mrs. Kelman," Clara said politely. "This is Malik Hayes." "Malik, this is Patricia Kelman." Malik extended his hand. "Pleasure to meet you, ma'am." Mrs. Kelman looked at his hand like it might bite her, then gave it a brief shake. "How do you two know each other?" she asked with false sweetness. "We're old friends," Clara said simply. "How nice. And what do you do, Mr. Hayes?" "I work in building maintenance and facilities management," Malik said calmly. Mrs. Kelman's eyebrows shot up. "Oh, how practical." "Very," Malik agreed. "Someone has to keep the lights on and the heat working." "Indeed." Mrs. Kelman turned back to Clara. "Your mother will be so pleased you decided to work things out with Grant." "Actually, Grant and I are no longer engaged. Malik is my date tonight." If Mrs. Kelman had been holding her wine glass, she would have dropped it. "Oh my," she said faintly. "I see. Well, how unexpected." She hurried away, probably to find the nearest phone to start making calls. "That went well," Malik said dryly. "Better than I expected, actually. She could have been much ruder." "The night is young." Clara was about to respond when she saw her mother approaching. Evelyn Whitmore moved through the crowd like a ship cutting through water. People stepped aside without even realizing they were doing it. She looked magnificent, in a navy blue gown that probably cost more than most people made in a month. Her hair was perfect. Her jewelry was subtle but expensive. She looked like exactly what she was, a woman who had never been told no in her entire life. "Clara," she said when she reached them. Her voice was warm and bright. Only Clara could hear the ice underneath. "Hello, Mother. You look lovely." "Thank you, darling." Evelyn turned to Malik with a smile that never reached her eyes. "And you must be Clara's friend." "Malik Hayes," he said, extending his hand. "Thank you for including me tonight, Mrs. Whitmore." Evelyn shook his hand briefly. How thoughtful of Clara to bring a guest. Though I'm afraid we may not have arranged seating for you. "I'm sure you'll figure something out," Clara said quickly. "You're excellent at organizing things." The challenge was subtle but clear. Evelyn's smile tightened. "Of course. We'll make room." She turned back to Malik. "And what is it you do, Mr. Hayes?" "I manage building maintenance and facilities for residential properties." "How industrious. And where did you and Clara meet?" "We've known each other for several years," Clara said before Malik could answer. "Several years? How interesting that you've never mentioned him." The conversation was becoming a minefield. Clara could feel other people listening, pretending to talk among themselves while straining to hear every word. "There are a lot of things I don't mention, Mother." "Indeed." Evelyn's eyes were sharp as glass. "Well, I do hope you'll excuse me. I need to speak with the caterer about dinner arrangements." She glided away, leaving Clara and Malik standing by the bar. "Your mother's charming," Malik said. "I'm sorry. She's not usually quite so." "Hostile?" "I was going to say obvious about it." Malik took a sip of his beer. "Clara, I need you to understand something. This isn't going to get easier as the night goes on. It's going to get harder. People are going to say things. They're going to test you, and they're going to try to make you choose between fitting in and standing with me." Clara looked around the room, at the people she'd grown up with, the families who had been part of her life since childhood, the world that had shaped her and protected her and limited her. Then she looked at Malik, at his calm, honest face, at his hands that fixed things and helped people, at the man who had promised to love her 5 years ago and who was brave enough to stand in this room full of judgment and criticism. "Then I guess I'll have to choose you," she said. Malik smiled, the first real smile she'd seen from him all evening. "Good," he said, "because here comes your test." Clara followed his gaze and saw Grant walking toward them with his parents in tow. He looked confident and expensive in his perfectly tailored tuxedo. His smile was bright and predatory. Clara's heart hammered against her ribs, but she didn't move away from Malik's side. "Showtime," she whispered. "Just remember," Malik murmured back. "We're in this together." Grant reached them with his arms spread wide like he was greeting old friends. "Clara, you look absolutely stunning." He leaned in to kiss her cheek. She turned her head so his lips brushed air instead. "Hello, Grant." Clara's voice was steady. "I'd like you to meet Malik Hayes. Malik, this is Grant Alden." The two men looked at each other for a moment. Grant was taller and broader, but Malik had a quiet strength that made him seem unmovable. "Nice to meet you," Malik said, offering his hand. Grant shook it with a smile that was all teeth and no warmth. "Likewise. I don't think I've seen you at one of these events before." "First time," Malik said easily. "And how do you know our Clara?" Our Clara, like she was a possession they were sharing. "We're old friends," Clara said before Malik could answer. "How nice." Grant's parents appeared beside him. His father was an older version of Grant, handsome, well-dressed, and convinced of his own importance. His mother was thin and sharp-featured, with calculating eyes. "Mom, Dad, you remember Clara," Grant said. "And this is her friend Malik." Friend, not date, not the man she came with. Friend. "How lovely to see you again, dear," Mrs. Alden said to Clara. "Grant's been so worried about you." "Has he?" Clara kept her voice neutral. "Of course. We all have. Planning a wedding can be so stressful. It's natural to have cold feet." Clara felt Malik tense beside her. This was exactly what he'd warned her about. They were going to pretend her breakup with Grant was just pre-wedding jitters. "I didn't have cold feet," Clara said clearly. "I realized Grant and I weren't right for each other." The silence that followed was thick and uncomfortable. "Well," Mr. Alden said heartily, "I'm sure whatever it was, you two can work it out. You're perfect together." "Actually," Clara said, her voice getting stronger, "Malik and I are here together tonight, as a couple." Mrs. Alden's face went through several expressions before settling on polite confusion. "I'm sorry. I don't understand." "Clara and I are dating," Malik said calmly. "She's my girlfriend." The word hung in the air like a bomb that hadn't exploded yet. Grant's smile finally slipped. "Clara, can I speak with you privately for a moment?" "No," Clara said. "Anything you want to say, you can say in front of Malik. I don't think that's appropriate. I don't care what you think is appropriate." People around them had stopped pretending to have their own conversations. Clara could feel dozens of eyes on them. "Clara," Mrs. Alden said in a voice like poisoned honey, "I think you may be making a mistake you'll regret." "The only mistake I regret," Clara said, "is waiting so long to end my engagement." Grant's mask finally fell away completely. His face went hard and cold. "I see," he said. "Well, I hope your new friend understands what he's getting into." "And what's that supposed to mean?" Malik asked. His voice was still calm, but Clara could hear the edge in it. Clara's used to a certain lifestyle, a certain level of refinement. "I'm not sure you'll be able to provide that." The insult hung in the air. Clara felt fury rise in her chest like a flame. "You don't know anything about what I need," she said to Grant. "You never did." "I know more than you think," Grant shot back. "I know you've never worked a day in your life. I know you've never paid a bill or done your own laundry or lived in the real world. What happens when the novelty wears off and you remember what you actually are?" "And what am I?" Clara asked dangerously. "A spoiled little rich girl who's playing at being normal." The words were meant to destroy her, and they might have, if Malik hadn't stepped closer to her side. "You're wrong," he said to Grant. His voice was quiet, but it carried. "Clara's the strongest person I know. She's brave enough to change her whole life for what she believes in. That's not playing. That's courage." Clara felt something break open in her chest. Not break apart. Break open, like a flower blooming. "I think we're done here," she said to Grant and his parents. "Clara," Mrs. Alden tried one more time, "don't throw away your future for a phase." "I'm not," Clara said. "I'm choosing my future. For the first time in my life, I'm choosing what I actually want." She took Malik's arm, and they walked away, leaving Grant and his parents standing by the bar looking stunned. "You okay?" Malik asked quietly. "Better than okay," Clara said, and she meant it. They'd made their statement. They'd drawn their line. There was no going back now. And Clara found that she didn't want to go back. Not even a little bit. For the first time in her life, she was exactly where she belonged. The rest of the charity event passed in a blur of whispered conversations and stolen glances. Clara and Malik stayed close together, dancing to slow songs and talking quietly at their table. People stared, but Clara found she didn't care anymore. When Evelyn gave her speech about the charity they were supporting, something about underprivileged children, Clara watched Malik's face. He listened carefully, nodding at the parts about kids needing safe places to learn and grow. "That's important work," he said quietly when Evelyn finished. "Do you really think so? Or are you just being polite?" "I really think so. Kids deserve better chances than some of them get." Clara thought about Trey, growing up without his father, about Malik stepping in to be the steady male presence in his nephew's life, about how much that must mean to a little boy. "You're a good uncle," she said. "I try to be." "No, you are. Trey adores you, and you're teaching him important things, about fixing problems and helping people." Malik smiled. "He's a good kid. Smart, curious. He asks a million questions about everything." "What does he want to be when he grows up?" "Last week he wanted to be a pilot. This week he wants to invent robots that help old people. Next week it'll probably be something completely different." Clara laughed. "He sounds wonderful." "He is, and he likes you, by the way. He barely knows me. Kids are good judges of character. He said you seemed sad but kind, and that you made really good hot chocolate." Clara felt warmth spread through her chest. High praise from an 8-year-old. The highest. When the event finally ended, Clara and Malik walked to the parking garage together. The night air was cold and crisp. Clara pulled her wrap tighter around her shoulders. "Well," Malik said as they reached his truck, "that was interesting." "I'm sorry. I know it was awful." "It wasn't awful. It was exactly what I expected." Clara looked at him in surprise. "Really?" "Clara, I've been black and working class my whole life. I know what happens when I walk into rooms full of wealthy white people. I know how they look at me, how they talk to me. Then why did you agree to come?" Malik leaned against his truck and studied her face in the dim garage lighting. "Because you asked me to, and because I wanted to see what you'd do when it got hard. And you were amazing." Clara felt tears prick her eyes. "I was terrified." "I know, but you didn't let it stop you. You stood up to your ex-fiancé. You told your mother no. You introduced me as your boyfriend to people who clearly thought I wasn't good enough for you. You are good enough for me. You're too good for me." Malik shook his head. "That's not how it works. We're both just people, Clara. Flawed people trying to figure out how to build something real together." He opened the truck door for her. "Come on. Let me take you home." The drive back to Clara's building was quiet. Not uncomfortable quiet. The kind of quiet that happens when two people understand each other without needing words. When they reached the lobby, Malik walked Clara to the elevator. "Thank you," she said, "for tonight, for being willing to do that with me." "Thank you for asking me." They stood facing each other in the soft lobby lighting. Clara wanted to kiss him, wanted to ask him to stay, wanted to tell him she was falling in love with him all over again. Instead, she reached up and straightened his tie. "You looked very handsome tonight," she said. "You looked beautiful. You always look beautiful. But tonight you looked free." Clara thought about that word as the elevator carried her up to her apartment. Free. She had given up her engagement, defied her mother, and scandalized her social circle. She had probably lost friends and definitely lost family approval. But she felt lighter than she had in years. Her phone was buzzing when she got inside. 7 missed calls from her mother, 4 from Noah, 2 from numbers she didn't recognize. She called Noah first. "Oh my God, Clara, are you okay?" "I'm fine." "Why?" "Mom called me 3 times. She's furious. She said you made a scene at the charity event." "I didn't make a scene. I brought a date and introduced him to people." "How did it go? With Malik, I mean." Clara kicked off her heels and curled up on her couch. "It was perfect, Noah. He was perfect. Strong and calm and kind. Even when people were rude to him." "And how do you feel?" "Proud, scared, happy. Like I finally know who I am." Noah was quiet for a moment. I'm proud of you too, Clara. I know that wasn't easy. No, it wasn't. But it was right. After they hung up, Clara made herself tea and stood by her window looking out at the city. Somewhere out there, Malik was probably tucking Trey into bed and helping Jada with whatever she needed. Being the steady, dependable man he'd always been. Tomorrow, the gossip would start in earnest. People would call and text and ask pointed questions. Her mother would probably show up again, or send reinforcements. But tonight, Clara had chosen love, publicly and irreversibly. Her phone rang. It was Malik. "Hi," she answered. "Hi. How are you doing?" "Good. Better than good. How's Trey?" "Asleep. But he made me promise to tell you that you looked like a princess tonight." Clara laughed. "He's sweet. He asked if you were my girlfriend now. For real." "What did you tell him?" "I told him I hoped so. But that grown-up relationships are complicated." Clara's heart jumped. "And what did he say to that?" "He said complications are just problems that haven't been fixed yet, and that I'm really good at fixing problems." "Smart kid." "Yeah, he is." Malik paused. "Clara, what happens now?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, you've made your grand gesture. You've chosen me publicly. But grand gestures don't build relationships. Day-to-day choices do." Clara set down her teacup. "What kind of day-to-day choices?" "Real ones. Like what happens when you run out of money because your family cuts you off? What happens when you realize you don't know how to do basic things like grocery shopping or paying bills? What happens when the novelty of dating a working-class guy wears off and you miss your old life?" The questions hurt because they were fair. "I don't know," Clara admitted. "I've never been tested like that before. But I want to learn. I want to be someone who can handle real life." "It's not easy, Clara. Real life means working jobs you don't love to pay for things you need. It means choosing between things you want because you can't afford everything. It means being tired and stressed and still having to show up for the people you love. I know I have a lot to learn, but I'm willing to learn it. With you, if you'll let me." Malik was quiet for a long time. "There's something else we need to talk about." "What?" "My sister wants to meet you. Officially, I mean. Not just running into you in the hallway." Clara's stomach fluttered with nerves. "Okay. She's protective of me, and of Trey. She's going to ask you hard questions." "What kind of questions?" "About your intentions. About whether you're serious about this or just rebelling against your family. About whether you're prepared for what it really means to be part of our lives." Clara thought about Jada, who worked with sick children and raised her son and protected her brother. A woman who probably had very good reasons to be suspicious of spoiled rich girls who showed up out of nowhere. "When does she want to meet?" "Tomorrow, if you're ready." "I'm ready." The next morning, Clara woke up to pounding rain and 17 missed calls. She ignored most of them, but answered when Noah called. "Clara, where are you?" "In my apartment. Why?" "There are pictures." Clara's blood went cold. "What kind of pictures?" "You and Malik at the charity event. Someone posted them on social media. They're everywhere." Clara grabbed her laptop and opened Facebook. It didn't take long to find them. Photos of her and Malik walking into the hotel, dancing together, talking at their table, standing up to Grant. The comments were brutal. "Who is this guy? Clara Whitmore is slumming it. I heard he works in maintenance. How embarrassing. Her family must be mortified." "Gold digger much?" Clara read comment after comment, each one worse than the last. Her hands shook as she scrolled through the photos. In one picture, Malik was looking at her with such tenderness that it took her breath away. In another, she was laughing at something he'd said, looking genuinely happy for the first time in years. To her, they looked like two people falling in love. To everyone else, they looked like a scandal. Her phone rang. It was her mother. "I suppose you've seen the pictures," Evelyn said without preamble. "Yes." "This is a disaster, Clara. An absolute disaster. Do you have any idea what people are saying?" "I can imagine." "They're saying you've lost your mind. They're saying this man is using you for your money. They're saying our family has no standards anymore." Clara looked at the photo of Malik's gentle face on her laptop screen. "Let them talk." "Let them talk? Clara, this affects all of us. Your father's business, Noah's career, my position on the hospital board. You're destroying our reputation. I'm living my life. You're having a breakdown. This isn't you, Clara. You don't make scenes. You don't date inappropriate men. You don't embarrass your family." Clara felt something hard and cold settle in her chest. Maybe the Clara you know isn't the real me. "Don't be ridiculous." "I'm not being ridiculous. I'm being honest. For the first time in my life, I'm being completely honest about what I want. And what you want is to throw away everything we've given you for some man you barely know. I want to love someone who loves me back. I want to build a life that feels real instead of performed. I want to matter to someone because of who I am, not what I have." Evelyn's voice turned icy. "Fine. If that's what you want, you can have it. But don't expect our support when this fantasy falls apart." "What does that mean?" "It means you're on your own financially. No more trust fund payments, no more credit cards, no more family safety net. If you want to play at being poor, you can actually be poor." The threat hung in the air. Clara felt panic rise in her throat, then settle into determination. "Okay," she said. "Okay? Okay, I accept those terms." Silence. Then, "You don't mean that." "I do mean it. Cut me off. I'll figure it out." "Clara, I have to go, Mom. I have a date with someone who cares about me." Clara hung up and immediately called her bank. Her mother wasn't bluffing. Her accounts had already been frozen. Her credit cards had been canceled. 24 hours ago, Clara Whitmore had been wealthy. Now she had about $300 in cash and no access to the money she'd grown up thinking belonged to her. She should have been terrified. Instead, she felt oddly relieved. The safety net was gone. Now she'd find out what she was really made of. At 2 o'clock, Clara walked to the community center where she was supposed to meet Malik and Jada. It was a simple building in a neighborhood Clara had never explored. Kids played on a small playground while their mothers watched from benches. Clara found Malik inside, playing basketball with Trey and a group of other kids. He was laughing and sweating, looking completely at ease. When he saw her, his face lit up. "Clara?" Perfect timing. Trey just scored the winning shot. "I saw." Clara high-fived Trey, who beamed with pride. "Clara!" a woman's voice called out. Clara turned to see a tall, beautiful woman walking toward them. She had Malik's eyes and a no-nonsense expression. "You must be Jada," Clara said. "I am." Jada looked Clara up and down, taking in her simple jeans and sweater. "You're different than I expected." "Different how?" "Less shiny." Malik laughed. Jada has a way with words. "I prefer honesty," Jada said. "Should we sit and talk?" They found a quiet corner with plastic chairs and a small table. Trey continued playing basketball with his friends while the three adults talked. "So," Jada said without preamble, "what are your intentions with my brother?" Clara had expected this question. "I love him. I want to build a life with him." "You loved him 5 years ago too. Then you disappeared." The words stung because they were true. "I made a mistake. I was young and scared, and I believed a lie instead of trusting what I knew about Malik." "What lie?" Clara told Jada about the photos, about her mother's manipulation, about the years she'd spent trying to convince herself she'd made the right choice. Jada listened without interrupting. When Clara finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "That's a convenient story," she said finally. "Excuse me?" "It's convenient to blame your mother, to make yourself the victim instead of taking responsibility for your choices." Clara felt heat rise in her cheeks. "I'm not making excuses. I know I hurt him. I know I made the wrong choice. Do you? Because it sounds to me like you're here because your engagement fell apart, not because you actually want to be here." Clara looked at Malik, who was watching this exchange with careful eyes. "That's not true," Clara said. "I ended my engagement because I couldn't stop thinking about Malik. Because I realized I was trying to love someone who would never see me the way Malik did. And how did Malik see you? Like I was worth something. Like I mattered beyond what I could do for him." Jada leaned back in her chair. "And you think you can just pick up where you left off? Like nothing happened?" "No. I know we have to start over. I know I have to earn his trust back." "Good. Because trust isn't something you can demand. It's something you prove." Jada glanced at Malik, then back at Clara. "What happens when this gets hard? When the novelty wears off? When you realize what it actually means to date a man who can't buy you nice things or take you fancy places?" Clara thought about her frozen bank accounts, about the comments on social media, about her mother's threats. "It's already hard," she said quietly. "My family cut me off this morning. Financially, I mean. They froze my accounts and canceled my credit cards." Jada's eyebrows shot up. "Because of Malik?" "Because I chose Malik over their approval." Jada looked at her brother. "Did you know about this?" Malik shook his head, his expression concerned. "Clara, why didn't you tell me?" "Because I wanted you to know that I chose you anyway. Not because I had no other options, but because you're what I want." Jada studied Clara's face for a long moment. "So what's your plan? How are you going to live without your family's money?" "I don't know yet. I'll get a job. I'll learn to budget. I'll figure it out." "Just like that?" "Just like that." Jada was quiet for several minutes, watching Trey play with his friends. Finally, she spoke. "I work with kids who are fighting for their lives every day. Kids who don't have choices about whether they get to be healthy or sick, whether they get to grow up or not." She looked directly at Clara. "Those kids would give anything for the choices you have." Clara nodded, not sure where this was going. "But they also teach me about courage. Real courage. The kind that shows up every day, even when you're scared, even when the odds are bad. Jada, I don't know if you have that kind of courage yet, but I'm willing to let you try to prove it." Clara felt tears prick her eyes. "Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I have conditions." "What kind of conditions?" "You hurt him again, and I will make your life very difficult. I don't care how much money your family has or how many connections you have. I will protect my brother." "I understand. And Trey comes first. Always. If this relationship affects his stability or happiness, it's over." Clara looked at the little boy laughing with his friends. "I would never want to hurt Trey." "Good. Then we understand each other." That evening, Malik walked Clara back to her building. They were quiet for most of the walk, both lost in their own thoughts. "Your sister is intense," Clara said finally. "She's protective, but I think she likes you." "Really?" "Because she basically threatened to destroy me if I hurt you." Malik laughed. "Yeah, that means she likes you. If she didn't, she would have just told me to run." They reached Clara's lobby and sat down on one of the couches by the window. "Clara, we need to talk about your family situation." "What about it?" "You can't just pretend that losing all your money doesn't matter. You've never worked. You've never paid bills. You don't know how to live without financial security." Clara turned to face him. "So teach me." "Teach you what?" "How to live in the real world. How to budget and shop for groceries and pay rent. How to find a job. How to be a person who contributes something instead of just consuming. Malik looked skeptical. Clara, it's not that simple. Learning to live on a budget isn't like learning to play tennis. There are real consequences if you mess up. Then help me not mess up. And if you decide it's too hard? If you call your mother and apologize and ask for your money back? Clara thought about that possibility. It would be so easy. One phone call and her comfortable life would be restored. Her bank accounts would be unfrozen. Her credit cards would work again. But she'd have to give up Malik. And she'd have to give up the person she was becoming. I won't do that, she said. How can you be sure? Because I finally know the difference between being comfortable and being happy. I was comfortable with Grant. I was miserable. But I was comfortable. With you, I'm happy. Even when things are uncertain or scary, I'm happy. Malik reached over and took her hand. Clara, I need you to understand something. I can't support both of us. I make enough money to live simply, but I can't carry someone who doesn't contribute. I know that. I don't want you to carry me. I want to be a partner. What does that look like? Clara thought about it seriously. I don't know yet, but I want to find out. I want to get a job and split expenses and be someone you can depend on, instead of someone you have to take care of. Even if the job isn't glamorous, even if it means serving coffee or cleaning offices or working retail, even then. Malik studied her face in the lobby's soft lighting. Okay, we'll try. But Clara, this has to be real. No going back to your family for money when things get tough. No using your connections to get special treatment. If we're doing this, we're doing it the way everyone else does it. Clara felt excitement and terror in equal measure. Deal. Malik smiled and kissed her forehead. In that case, you're going to need a job. I know someone who's hiring. The next morning, Clara found herself standing outside a small cafe called Sunny Side Up. The owner, Maria Santos, was a friend of Malik's who needed a morning shift waitress. Clara had never waited tables in her life. She'd never even ordered her own food in most restaurants. Someone else had always handled that. But Maria was patient and kind, and she agreed to give Clara a trial period. It's hard work, Maria warned. Early mornings, sore feet, difficult customers, and the pay isn't much. I understand, Clara said. I'm ready to work hard. Maria looked skeptical, but handed Clara an apron. We'll see. The first week was brutal. Clara burned herself on the coffee pot. She dropped a tray of plates. She mixed up orders and forgot to charge for extra sides and accidentally overcharged a regular customer. But she showed up every day at 5:30 a.m. with a smile. She listened to Maria's corrections without arguing. She apologized to angry customers and stayed late to clean up her mistakes. By the end of the second week, she was starting to get the hang of it. The regular customers learned her name. She could carry 4 plates at once without dropping them. She even made her first tips. It wasn't much money. After taxes, Clara made about $300 a week. But it was money she'd earned with her own hands. Money that came from making people happy with good service and hot coffee. It felt better than any trust fund payment she'd ever received. Malik came by the cafe every morning before work. At first, he ordered coffee and watched Clara serve other customers, making sure she was okay. But after a few weeks, he just came to see her smile. How are the feet? He asked one morning, noting the comfortable shoes Clara had learned to wear instead of heels. Sore, Clara admitted, but getting stronger. And how's the attitude? Still think honest work is beneath you? Clara swatted him with her dish rag. I never thought honest work was beneath me. I just never knew how to do it. And now I know that making someone's morning better with good coffee is just as important as writing a check to charity. Maybe more important, because it's personal. Malik smiled and left a $5 tip for his $2 coffee. 3 weeks into Clara's new job, Evelyn Whitmore walked into Sunny Side Up. She stood in the doorway for a moment, looking around at the simple tables and handwritten menu board. Her expression was the same one she'd worn when Clara brought home a stray cat as a child, polite disgust mixed with bewilderment. Clara was behind the counter when she saw her mother. Her hands went still on the coffee machine. "Good morning," Clara said calmly. "Can I help you?" Evelyn approached the counter like she was walking through a minefield. "Clara, you look." She paused, taking in Clara's simple uniform and pulled back hair. "Different. I look like someone who works for a living." "Indeed." Evelyn glanced around the cafe again. "May we speak privately? I'm working. But you can order something and sit down. I'll talk to you when I have a break." Evelyn's mouth tightened, but she ordered tea and found a table by the window. Clara could feel her mother watching as she served other customers and cleaned tables. When the morning rush slowed down, Clara took her break and sat across from her mother. "So," Evelyn said, "this is your life now." "No, part of it. Serving coffee to strangers, living paycheck to paycheck, wearing polyester uniforms." Clara looked down at her simple outfit. It wasn't fashionable, but it was practical and clean. "Yes." "And you're happy?" "I am." Evelyn sipped her tea and made a face. "The coffee is dreadful." "The coffee is fine. You're just not used to places that don't charge $10 for a latte." "Clara, this has gone on long enough. You've made your point. You've proven you can survive without us. Now come home." Clara felt a familiar tug in her chest, the pull of comfort and security, of never having to worry about money or difficult customers or sore feet. What would coming home mean? It means your trust fund is restored. Your position in the family is restored. We'll find you something appropriate to do with your time. Charity work, perhaps, or you could go back to school. And Malik? Evelyn's expression hardened. Malik would be a pleasant memory, a learning experience. You'd move on to someone more suitable. Clara thought about Malik's gentle hands and kind eyes, about the way he looked at her like she was capable of amazing things, about Trey's innocent wisdom and Jada's protective love. "No," she said. "No. No, I won't give up the best thing in my life because you don't approve." Evelyn set down her teacup with a sharp click. "Clara, be reasonable. This man is using you." "For what? My impressive waitressing skills? My $300 a week?" "For your connections, your status, your family's influence." Clara laughed, and it wasn't a bitter sound. It was genuinely amused. "Mom, Malik doesn't want anything from our family. He doesn't want your money or your connections or your approval. He just wants me. The real me. Not the version you've spent 29 years trying to create. The real you is a Whitmore. That means something. It means I come from privilege. It means I was given advantages most people don't have. But it doesn't mean I have to spend my whole life living up to someone else's expectations." Evelyn was quiet for a moment, watching Clara's face. "You really won't come back. Not on those terms." "What terms would you accept?" Clara thought about it. "Accept Malik as part of my life. Accept that I'm going to live differently than you planned. Stop trying to control my choices." "I can't do that." "Then I guess we're at an impasse." Evelyn stood up and left money for her untouched tea. "When this falls apart, Clara, and it will fall apart, don't expect us to pick up the pieces." "I won't need you to pick up the pieces. I'm stronger than you think." After her mother left, Clara stood behind the counter and shook for 10 minutes, not from fear or regret, but from the magnitude of what had just happened. She'd chosen her new life over her old one, permanently this time, irrevocably, and she felt free. That evening, Clara met Malik at his apartment for dinner. It was a simple place, clean but small, with second-hand furniture and photographs of Trey and Jada on every surface. Clara had brought groceries and cooked pasta with marinara sauce. Nothing fancy, but she'd made it with her own hands using money she'd earned. "My mother came to the cafe today," she said as they ate. Malik's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. "How did that go?" Clara told him about the conversation, about the ultimatum, and her choice, and the final break with her family. "How do you feel about it?" Malik asked when she finished. "Sad," Clara said honestly, "but not regretful. I love my family, but I can't live their life anymore." "And you're sure?" "No doubts about giving up financial security for a maintenance worker who drives a 10-year-old truck." Clara reached across the small table and took his hand. "Malik, I need you to stop doing that." "Doing what?" "Acting like you're not good enough for me. You're the best man I know. You're kind and strong and honest. You work hard and take care of people and keep your promises. I should be worried about whether I'm good enough for you." Malik squeezed her fingers. "Clara, I love you," she said simply. "Not because you're safe or convenient or appropriate. Because you're you. Because you see me and accept me and challenge me to be better." "I love you too," Malik said. "I never stopped loving you. Even when I was angry and hurt, I never stopped." Clara felt tears slip down her cheeks. "So what happens now?" "Now we build something real. Day by day, choice by choice. Together, together." 6 months later, Clara was making coffee at Sunny Side Up when a familiar customer walked in. Mrs. Donnelly, dressed in her Sunday best, carrying a small gift bag. "Good morning, dear," Mrs. Donnelly said. "The usual?" "Of course." Clara poured coffee into Mrs. Donnelly's favorite mug. "You look very nice today. Special occasion?" "In a way. It's an anniversary of sorts." "What kind of anniversary?" Mrs. Donnelly smiled mysteriously. "The kind where a young woman learns who she really is." Clara looked confused until Mrs. Donnelly handed her the gift bag. "What's this for?" "Just open it, dear." Inside was a small framed photo. It was a picture of Clara and Malik from the charity event 6 months ago, but it wasn't one of the photos that had been posted online. This was different, more intimate. In the photo, they were dancing. Clara was laughing at something Malik had said, her head thrown back with pure joy. Malik was looking at her like she was the most precious thing in the world. "Where did you get this?" Clara asked. "I have my sources." Mrs. Donnelly winked. "But that's not the important part. Look at yourself in that picture, dear. Really look." Clara studied her own face in the photograph. She looked radiant, happy in a way she'd never looked in any of the professional photos from her engagement to Grant. "You see it, don't you?" Mrs. Donnelly asked. "How love is supposed to look." Clara nodded, unable to speak around the lump in her throat. "That young man of yours loves you something fierce, and you love him right back. That's worth more than all the money and status in the world." "I know," Clara whispered. "Good. Now dry those tears and get back to work. You've got customers waiting." That evening, Clara showed Malik the photograph. They were sitting on the couch in his apartment, Trey asleep on the floor in front of the TV after a long day at the park. "Mrs. Donnelly has quite the romantic streak," Malik said, studying the picture. "Look at us," Clara said softly. "Look how happy we are." "Are you? Happy, I mean." Clara thought about her life. She woke up at 5 in the morning to serve coffee to strangers. Her feet hurt most days. Her bank account was small, and she had to budget carefully for everything. But she also had Malik's warm hand to hold. She had Trey's gap-toothed grin and Sunday morning basketball games. She had Jada's grudging respect and Mrs. Donnelly's motherly approval. She had a life built on real love instead of convenient arrangements. "I'm happier than I've ever been," she said. Malik was quiet for a moment. Then he stood up and walked to his bedroom. When he came back, He was carrying a small velvet box. Clara's heart stopped. "Malik." "Clara." He knelt down beside the couch, next to where she was sitting. "6 months ago, you showed up at my office and reminded me of a promise I made." Clara's eyes filled with tears. "I told you I'd promised you'd be my wife one day. And you asked me why that mattered now. I remember. It matters now because we're not kids anymore. Because we've both been through things that tested who we really are. Because you've proven that you'll choose love over comfort. Because I know now that when I promise you forever, you'll believe it." Malik opened the box. Inside was a simple ring. Not huge or flashy, but beautiful in its simplicity. "Clara Whitmore, will you marry me? Not one day. Now. Because I know who you are, and who I am, and who we are together." Clara looked at the ring, then at Malik's face, at the man who'd fixed her building's broken things and her broken heart, at the man who'd waited for her to become brave enough to choose real love. "Yes," she said through her tears. "Yes, I'll marry you." Malik slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. "I love you," he said. "I love you too." From the floor, a small voice piped up. "Are you guys gonna kiss now? Because that's what people do in movies when they get engaged." Clara and Malik looked down at Trey, who was pretending to still be asleep, but was clearly listening to every word. "What do you think, buddy?" Malik asked. "Should I kiss your new Aunt Clara?" Trey sat up and grinned. "Only if you want to, but I think she wants you to." Clara laughed through her tears. "I definitely want him to." So Malik kissed her, there on the couch in his simple apartment, with his nephew cheering and their whole imperfect, beautiful life spreading out before them. It wasn't the fairy tale Clara had been raised to expect. It was better. It was real. 1 year later, Clara and Malik were married in the community center, where they'd had their first real conversation. Mrs. Donnelly was Clara's matron of honor. Trey was the ring bearer. Even Jada cried during the vows. Noah walked Clara down the aisle. Her parents didn't come, but Clara had stopped waiting for their approval. She had something better. She had love that had been tested and chosen and proven true. When the pastor asked if she took Malik to be her husband, Clara thought about the scared girl who'd gotten in her mother's car 5 years ago. The girl who'd chosen safety over love and spent years regretting it. Then she looked at Malik, steady and strong and kind, waiting for her answer. "I do," she said clearly. "I absolutely do." And this time, she meant it forever.